folks. It's been a while. Ariel over here at Nyth with an update on what I've been doing in the last little while since the last video. If you are new here, welcome. Feel free to check out the other 500 plus videos on the channel, which are not about this topic, but this one is going to be a follow-up on the previous two, the discussion of COPPA, the Children's Online Protection Act, what the FTC said when I actually talked to them, and everything I've been able to learn about that. So the normal topics around here have to do with my tiny house that I live in, things Burley and I do together, going on adventures, the wildlife outside, gardening, cooking, all that. That's not what this video is about. I apologize, it will probably again be somewhat long and somewhat boring. If you're actually trying to understand this topic, I highly recommend you go back and watch the last two videos that I did on it, and there are several lawyers who have YouTube channels. One that I find has really detailed and helpful information if you are interested in more of this perspective from a lawyer themselves. I am not a lawyer, I'm not giving you legal advice. Is Hoeg Law. I might be mispronouncing the gentleman's last name. It's H-O-E-G Law, and he has a YouTube channel with an entire series of videos covering the COPPA rules and multiple aspects of things in there. I think you'll probably find those helpful if you're actually trying to understand this. So I talked to the FTC. They called me back. The way that happened, because somebody else said they talked to them, and I was like, I don't even know how to get a hold of them. So the way I did that was I went to the main FTC website. They have a main office phone number. I called it. There's just a voicemail recording that doesn't let you talk to anybody, but one of the things in that recording is a list of all their regional offices. So I called the one in Seattle, Seattle being the closest of all of them to my location in Wyoming, and actually got a real person there who had to go do some digging, and she called me back and said that who I need to speak to for more information would be whoever answered the COPPA hotline at ftc.gov email address. So I sent an email there. If you send an email there yourself, you're going to get a email kickback right away saying, hey, we've heard your concern, check out these random, documents, which were all things I'd already read, of course, for more info, but I explicitly detailed what I was looking for and asked somebody to call me. And it took some time, but I did eventually get a phone call back from a lawyer at the FTC. In the meantime, I have also talked in person to a lawyer here in my local area, and I think watched every video on the internet and every article I could find by any lawyer anywhere on this entire topic, really trying to understand it and get a grasp on what's going on here and the consequences for my channel and all of you guys who like to watch it. So that's what I've been doing. I know some people have said, well, with all your free time you have not doing videos. I think you guys have no idea how time-consuming reading legal documents, case histories, and trying to make appointments to talk with these various people might be, especially when it's all occurring over holiday times when various things are closed and on vacation and out of town and so on. It's a bit hard to reach some people. So, what the FTC said, I actually have some notes because I wanted to be sure I knew, had a good record to share with you guys. So if you're brand new to this whole thing, I can't go into all the history because that's several hours long, but how it applies to me is me as a content creator, I'm trying to figure out how to comply with the Children's Online Protection Act. Now, the basis of the act has to do with protecting children who are under 13. I know children are normally understood in this country to be under 18, but for the definition of this law, it's under 13, from data collection without verifiable parental consent. This law has nothing to do with what a child should or should not be watching. It has nothing to do with the amount of violence or sex or anything like that in a video for a child. It has to do with the data collection on children using the internet without their parents having consented to that data collection. Just want to clarify that because there definitely seems to be some misunderstanding out there and a general assumption if it's a law about protecting children online, it must have to do with whether or not they're watching things that are objectionable for children to watch. That's actually not what this law in particular is covering at all. So the situation is the FTC has a 3 years, how many years ago, 2015, I think, had some new rules that went into effect in relation to how they understand COPPA. It's a rule that's been around for more than 20 years now, so it's that's not a brand new thing, but how they're choosing to interpret it is somewhat. And what the FTC said, go watch my last video or just watch their press conference in full, is that they are going to be coming after individual content creators and fining them. Now, I think that there are some legal problems with their actual ability to do that, because COPPA is a law designed to, for one, apply to big corporations, and I think there's even still some misunderstanding at the FTC and how actual content creators like me work on YouTube from my conversation with them, because I asked them specifically about this. How are you guys, can you explain to me how you're defining me as a content creator as a website operator when I don't operate the website? I have no control over what YouTube does. YouTube does random things all the time that please or upset most of the creators on their site. None of us have any control over what they choose to do. I can't access data they collect. I can't see it. I can't use it. I have no control over that. And fundamentally, I think the law to be able to apply to me as in regards to considering me to have my own website, I would think that it would have to be possible for me to comply, and since I do not control the access to the YouTube site itself, there is no way that I can prevent someone under 13 from seeing a video. There is no way I can prevent the data from being collected. There is no way I can obtain verifiable parental consent. Those are all things that somebody who's actually operating the website would be doing, and in this case that is YouTube. The FTC still contends that individual content creators like me are actually website operators. Multiple lawyers disagree with them on this. I suspect that is something they would probably lose in court on, but again, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, and until a case goes to court and goes the whole way through the court system and there be precedent, that's something we really don't have an answer on. But that is the FTC's point. When I talked to the gentleman in person, he said, yes, individual content creators from our perspective are website operators. I clarified the reasons I thought they were not, and we agreed to disagree on that. So then my next basic question for them, because I couldn't really find this info anywhere out there, and again, for more info, I'm going to link below to a whole ton of documents. You can find a whole bunch more linked in my last two videos, quite a few links under Mr. Hogue Wall's videos, and so on if you want some of the background on this. But what I couldn't find a question to is what happens if somebody at the FTC decides that Nyth channel is in violation, or any other random particular content creator out there. What is the process? What happens next? And this they did actually have an answer for. First, they would investigate that and see, you know, if somebody said, hey, there's a problem over in Nyth channel, whether that's somebody from the outside who calls them, or whether it's somebody in their organization. They weren't real clear about how that works, but if a particular channel comes to their attention, then they have to do further investigations. Then they contact the website operator, and here's again where I get into, I don't think they understand how this works. They would contact the company owner and ask for further documentation to prove or not prove their case. That makes sense if you have an organization like YouTube where there is a company to contact and there probably is some kind of documentation within an organization that size. That's where it doesn't really make any sense. So there's no documentation of videos I do. I cook a meal, I grow carrots, I go for a hike. That is all the documentation there is. The video content you guys see is all there is. I don't have some file of paperwork to turn over to the FTC. So they would ask for documentation, then they would do further investigation to see if they thought they had a good case against you based on their definitions. And then they would file a court case against you, asking for civil penalties, the extent of which would depend on how severe they determined the violation was. And then you would either take it the whole way through the court system and either win or lose, or come to a settlement, which is what YouTube actually did with them, not agreeing or disagreeing. There was no admission of any wrongdoing there. They just reached a settlement to make it go away. So that's kind of the process. I asked specifically, is there any way this works where you just send out fines that show up in people's mailboxes like parking tickets? And he said, no, that is not how it works. So that was one of my big questions. Then I asked him if he could, being a lawyer at the FTC, and of course he had to clarify he cannot give me legal advice either, if he could explain to me in black and white how this vague list of definitions of what they're using to determine something as child-directive or even child-attractive content could apply to the kind of content I make. He said he could not. His first statement was, I think the list of specifications, those 10 points, the subject matter, whether there's music, whether there's bright colors, his wording was that he thinks that speaks for itself. I told him I strenuously disagree with that point, since clearly every lawyer I've talked to, and even you, the lawyer I'm speaking to at the FTC, can't actually give me an answer on if a particular thing is child-directed or not via your list of very broad and vague definitions. So I think you clearly have a problem where that is not true. Your list of definitions there most certainly do not speak for themselves. If they did, we would not all be in this situation of trying to figure out how this applies to things that we're doing. So he referred me again to their blog, where they go into trying to explain that a little, which doesn't really explain much. Mr. Hogwell's got a good video on that topic as well, but it really is still broad and vague. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but no lawyer I can find or talk to or listen to or even speak to at the FTC can actually tell you if any particular content does or does not fall under that definition of theirs. So I think there's still a very big problem with the vagueness of the rules. I did ask, I tried to go through any questions I had not previously been able to find an answer to, but I'd seen other people asking. Several people had said, if my channel is not monetized in any way, but is on YouTube, is it safe from this kind of fine? His answer here was very interesting. He said, oh yes, then there is no possibility we would go after you. I said, so even though we both either suspect or know that YouTube still collects data on every user who watches a video, whether they're logged in or not, whatever age they might be, and whether or not there are ads being shown on that particular video, if I don't get money, then it's not my fault. And he said yes, which I think would go back to if it's the data collection that's the problem, because that's what the law actually says, then I would think the data collection would actually be the problem regardless of income. But that seems to me to be an admission that they understand that YouTube's doing all that data collection and I actually have no control over it. But that was his answer. If your channel is not monetized in any way, you cannot be fined. Of course, then we get into problems of well, just don't monetize your channels. I could probably do that. I'd make a lot less videos because I'd have to go get, more outside work outside of here. That's possible. That may be the route I go. I'm not sure about that. But for a lot of people who are actively doing this as a full-time business or family business or something, just turning off all their income is possibly not an option. But that was the FTC's answer on that. I asked specifically because a lot of people have brought up, what if you have a disclaimer either at the start or end of your video or in the description box or on your channel about box? Does any kind of disclaimer saying that my intended audience is not primarily children under 13, does that have any effect on how they would view content? His answer was no, that has no effect. They would look at other factors, and if they still thought the content was child-directed, having a disclaimer in any of those situations would not affect how they would proceed. So then my next question was, because I've seen this brought up multiple times, is what if I or anybody starts out a video of Burley and I going for a hike in the mountains with just a whole string of cuss words at the beginning, and then goes back to regular content? As you guys probably know, that's not my normal method of communicating with people, but I did ask that for clarification. Again, he said no. Same answer as the disclaimer. If they thought the other content in the video was child-directed by their vague definitions, having cursing at the start would not take that out of consideration from their perspective. Then I ask, I'm not the only person who's talked to the FTC now. If you Google YouTube COPPA on YouTube or wherever you'll now find multiple people have had conversations with them, some lawyers, some other creators, most with much larger channels than mine, and so on, and they're saying, oh, we won't go after that, we don't intend to pursue borderline content that could or could not be for kids, we don't, there's a whole lot of we won't, but none of it's actually in the rules that they are, I think the legal word is promulgating. So they have the actual COPPA law, and then the FTC decides how they interpret that law, and that's what these rules are. So I said, based on how you're telling me at the moment that you wouldn't go after this kind of content, or you would understand the role this way, or this is how you would interpret this thing, what happens when you move up in your career and next week or next month or in 10 years you're not the guy sitting in that desk at the FTC and it's somebody different, given that the whole list of rules here that you're trying to enforce is so vague, despite the fact that you just tried to tell me they're clear, that, and back to that topic, he said they're clear, but again, lawyers are actually agreeing they're not clear at all. And even as far as my own personal content, I have so many comments on videos that pretty much show that these are not clear rules, because people looked at the rules and I have gotten comments like, clearly you're safe, your channel is all fine for children. I think that was from people who didn't understand that that's actually when there would be a problem here. There was also people who said, clearly nothing you have ever done would be of interest to anyone under 13, and there's people all over the place in between. So if you viewers can't even agree on how you would see my particular content in light of that list of regulations, I think we do have a problem with the vagueness of the regulations. His answer to that was, what would be different if somebody new shows up in the office tomorrow morning and decides they want to enforce that in a whole different way or understand it in a different way. His perspective is that can't change quickly, because if he thought this was a violation, he would have to take it to his boss, they would have to have a meeting about it, it would have to actually go to the 5 commissioners that's an appointed position, not an elected position. They would all have to agree on it. So even if he decided something tomorrow was in violation, he wouldn't be able to pursue that entirely on his own. Of course, he also specified he can make no premises about how something would be interpreted in the future, and of course, as those appointments and things turn over and change down the road, this could all be understood differently, because again, the rules are vague enough that pretty much, unless you're filming murder or hardcore pornography, any general audience, family-friendly, any content that you would think of as that could, depending on one's perspective, be decided to fit under those rules. So that was kind of the extent of my conversation with the FTC themselves. My conversation with a actual lawyer, not just having watched multiple lawyers' conversations on this, but actually meeting with a lawyer here locally, his perspective was that basically right now he couldn't give me any solid answers because the FTC has not currently taken any content creator to court, so there is no precedent, there is no case history or anything for him to look at. He certainly cannot, and I was aware this is the case, no matter what I paid him, he can't give me a letter saying, I've checked your content and I can promise you the FTC won't sue you. A lawyer can't do something like that. He could say what is probably true, that you're probably too small for them to care about right now. There's a lot of creators out there. You probably, just from the sheer volume, wouldn't be the first person they pick to go after. Your content's probably not so clearly in the public mind directed at people under 13 that you wouldn't be a good case, because the FTC wouldn't have much public sympathy with them fining you. But he could make, no promise that any of that wouldn't happen either, because, again, he's got no case history or precedent to go off of, because the FTC is saying they can do this, but they have not yet done it. The only actions the FTC has currently in history brought against anybody in relation to this law would be what you would actually think of as website operators, companies like Google. And I think there's been like 33 other cases, or 32, something like that, other cases. They've all been against organizations like Google, I think TikTok, I'm not even sure what that is, but it's the creators who run the platform itself, not people, the creators of the platform, not people using it. But they are saying, and that's what the gentleman said to me when I asked him that point blank, that they do consider, currently they're considering people like me actual website operators. They've never gone after anybody like that. I do suspect they might lose that in a court case, but none of us will know till it happens. And I've had a little bit of experience with legal systems and government bodies doing things that are actually illegal and taking it through a court system, and that I know from personal experience can take many, many years. So there probably won't be an actual answer on that any lawyer or anybody else can give you anytime in the near future. There has been a huge outpouring of public comments to the FTC as they reconsider the wording of this rule. It remains to be seen what effect that will have, but I believe when the comment period closed a couple days ago, there was somewhere north of 175,000 comments. Normally, from my understanding, when the FTC has a proposed rule change, they get somewhere from a few hundred to 1,000 comments from interested parties on their wording of their regulations. So 175,000 is significantly more than their norm. So they are very aware that a lot of people are interested in and concerned about this. Again, where that goes and what wording they choose to actually implement and how they choose to enforce that is all up in the air right now. And the lawyer at the FTC, no other lawyer, nobody can really answer that for a specific channel. So that brings me to what am I going to do with this channel? And hopefully that all makes sense, especially with some of the background to why this is actually concerning to me. I know there are other channels with content similar to mine. Some are very concerned. Some have already deleted their content. Some are not concerned at all. Some of those people are people I very much like and respect and consider friends. The fact that they're not concerned at all, I think, is being a little bit naive. Particularly when we look through history and see how many rules and regulations that have been implemented at some point with some understanding of, well, we're actually going to use it this way. Almost always, later on, they're used for something different, as we could actually see going on with this one in particular now. It was originally directed at protecting, the collection of data by website operators from people under 13 without their parents' consent being verified, and now it seems to be going far beyond that. There's actually people in the FTC who are dissenting and saying this is going beyond the actual law that Congress passed. We can't do this. There are others who are saying they can. But I think if you look through history, you will see most rules and regulations that have been implemented at one point with one understanding often are used for things far beyond and often very different for that in the future. So I do think if anyone's actually, paying attention to the world around them and how things work, that is genuinely concerning. But that's something we currently disagree on, and I certainly hope that it works out for the best for them as well, because some of those people are good friends of mine. I saw various people say, "Oh, you're the only person talking about this." If you Google, or even just go directly to YouTube and type in COPPA and look for videos, you will see I'm very far from the only content creator out there talking about this. I think, I didn't watch it, but I'm aware that even PewDiePie, who I think has the biggest channel on YouTube, or he might have just been surpassed, he might be the second biggest now, but he even addressed his concerns about this. So I'm certainly not the only person talking out there about this. I think other content creators have become more aware of the potential implications. So where do I go from here? Not entirely sure. I have been actively looking for any, and this was true before becoming aware of anything to do with COPPA, actively looking for a website that does less censoring of content than YouTube is well known for doing, that allows video uploading of lots of videos and doesn't personally cost me a fortune, because that's really, for me personally, though I understand there are people out there making their full-time living doing YouTube, so they have other concerns. For me, my main concern is I can somewhat do this, just not as much, but I can do this for free, but I can't do it if it costs me a fortune out of my own pocket, because I don't have a fortune. There are people out there trying to build websites who are alternatives to YouTube. Again, getting off YouTube does not solve the FTC problem as long as you are located or have any viewers in the United States. The FTC sees it as their role to regulate that. But I have been actively looking for places to do that. I have not found anything that actually works right now. I have tried uploading videos to and using quite a few other platforms, some suggested by you guys, some I was already aware of. I have yet to have an actual video successfully upload despite multiple attempts to any of them, which goes back to the, if I'm producing content, I want you guys to be able to watch it, reliably watch it, not find that the site is down again, and that it won't load, and it won't play, and I can't upload it, and all of that kind of stuff. And to have that functionality, this gets into another interesting thing I've been researching. As near as most people can tell, YouTube currently actually operates at a loss, or maybe almost breaks even. Despite the fact that, and the numbers seem to be a bit hard to tell because the way the parent company, Google, now known as Alphabet, reports their numbers, it kind of includes all of their businesses. It doesn't treat YouTube as a separate thing. So overall, Google makes a profit, but Google does a lot of things online that are not YouTube. And as near as we can tell, despite the fact that YouTube has some number of billions, I think the last number I saw for one of the most recent years was maybe like 19 billion coming in through the whole site in a year in ad revenue. The actual cost of operating the infrastructure to host and stream the volume of video they have, that does, it seems to be costing either the same or a little more than that 19 billion a year, and they're actually operating a loss now. It seems to still be profitable for a company like Google to do because of all of their contacts and control of more things on the internet in general, and they have a big enough company that they can fund that. But that does give one a little bit of a perspective into if you want to build something that's a competitor to YouTube with different rules and less rules and more freedom and all that, if it takes something like $19 billion a year to run it at a loss, that makes it pretty hard for a lot of people to get started. And here we come to the problem with if I would just make my entire channel, or other people would make their entire channels not monetized. Ultimately, YouTube is in the business to not lose more money than they need to, and there is a clause in their terms of service saying if a channel is not monetarily viable, they can delete it, which, whether you like it or not, makes some kind of sense that they can't run everything for free for other people when it's costing them money out of their own pocket. So should I and a lot of other content creators just choose to make all of our income some other method and continue to upload videos and have all of them not monetized, I think YouTube would be forced to start deleting channels, as they are allowed to do per their operating agreement that everyone has to check the box on if you're going to use their site, because it would be unfeasible for them to host that amount of data with no income coming in. So I'm going to continue pursuing other places to have content. Because, again, totally separate from, the FTC, Google does own YouTube. I do not. They can make whatever decisions they want about it, and they can kick me off the platform at any time. And that's happened to people I know and other people I follow and such, that suddenly their channel is just deleted. So that could happen at any time over other things totally separate from COPPA. And so if I'm just gone one day and I can't share another video with you guys, trying to figure out a place where we could still be in contact is one of the things I've been working on in the past several weeks. I do have a blog that I've had for a long time. Go to a link below to that. I think it's been linked under every video I've ever done, but nyth.blogspot.com, and there is right on the right-hand side there, I now have a sign up for updates by email. So if you want to be able to stay in touch no matter what happens here on YouTube, go over there and put your email address in. I don't sell email addresses. I don't do anything else with it. But if there is a blog update, you will get it emailed to your inbox. And we'd be able to still stay in touch. And if I am able to find somewhere else to go or something, you'd just be able to have another method to figure that out if, for whatever reason, this channel vanishes on YouTube. So go check that out. In the past several weeks, I have continued to update my blog and my MeWe site, which is where I use social media. So if you want to follow Nyth there, come check out those two things. There have been daily updates, I'd say, on MeWe and every few days on the blog. So I have still been actively doing things. And of course, I still have my normal active life here. It's snowing outside. The snow's something like that deep on the ground now. I've been doing, snow shoveling, cooking, bringing in firewood, all of the normal life stuff here, even though you guys haven't been seeing videos on it. So that's all something I'm trying to figure out. Given all of this information from the FTC themselves and everybody else, I guess I don't know. That's the real answer. I don't know. I don't know if I should wait till after January 1st when this all goes into effect, wait however many months after that to see what the actual regulations are that go into place as the FTC considers changing the wording to the law, see if it's better or worse, see if they pick out somebody to, this is going to be our test case, we're going to go after this actual content creator and take them to court and try to prove that we can actually go after people who don't actually, by any reasonable definition, own or maintain their own website and see how that comes out. I'm not sure. I would very much like to be able to continue sharing content with you all. My goal is to share information I know. I do not know everything. There are lots of things I don't know, but there are a few things I do know. And what I try to do is share that with anyone who's actually interested. And from my perspective, my audience is anybody of any age, and not even all humans. I've gotten some lovely emails from a few of you saying, my cat watches all of your videos. I think somebody sent me an email saying their pet bird watches all of my videos. So my content is directed at any body of any species who is interested in watching it. And if you're not interested, that is fine. There are millions of other videos uploaded every day to the internet. Have a wonderful life watching whatever you do like. So, I just wanted to share with you guys what I learned from being able to actually talk to the FTC, talk to a lawyer, clarify kind of that the result of that is that a lot of things are not clarified. Again, I'm going to link down below to other lawyers like Hogue Law. I highly recommend checking out his very, very detailed, in-depth look at various aspects and details of this whole situation. He has videos on other topics too, but he has a whole series specifically covering this topic. And that's where we're at right now. Burley and I are happy and healthy here. We are going to, no matter what happens, as I said before, we are going to continue living our lives. We are going to enjoy playing in the snow, cuddling by the fireplace, going on hikes, growing food, making meals, spending time with friends. If there's not other videos, you guys do not need to worry. We are still going to be happily doing our thing, whether you are aware of it or not. But I would like to be able to continue sharing content with everyone else. So I've got to just do a little more pondering about this, doing all of this research and making appointments with and tracking down who to contact and who to talk to and talking to people. That has all occupied a rather insane amount of time in the past few weeks. So it might be a bit before there's another video just because I need some time to catch up on other things in my life rather than working on all of that. Since I am not a company, I am just me, and I don't have a team of lawyers on retainer, and I don't have secretaries to send to do things, and so on. So, yeah, might be a bit before there's another video. I think there probably will be more videos as on some platform somewhere at some point. I have time. I still, as I mentioned before, have a several page list of video topics that I would like to cover, mostly things requested by all of you folks that you have had various topic requests for things to do, and I'd like to do all of them. So that's where we're at right now. I have some snow to go shovel, and I hope that you all are enjoying your days wherever you are. Hopefully some of that is helpful if you are also a content creator trying to figure this out. If you want to call the FTC yourself and talk to them, that's how to get a hold of them to the best of my knowledge. And best wishes with whatever decisions you all make, and hopefully none of the rest of you are dealing with trying to figure out how a very vaguely worded law intended for giant corporations applies to your personal life as an individual. And I hope that you guys all have a lovely holiday season. See you whenever I get back here. And in the meantime, please go, again, all this will be linked below. Please come join us on MeWe where we interact daily, and follow the blog and sign up for email updates if you want me to have a way to contact you in case the whole channel should go away. And, you know, I figure out a different way to go about this, that I'd have a way to let you know what that is. So That's it for now. Have a great day. Hi folks, Ariel over here. Thanks for spending some of your valuable time watching these videos. Hopefully you found something beautiful, educational, interesting, peaceful, relaxing, or useful while you were here. If so, find more videos here, subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and if you like what you found here, feel free to like and share away so that others can benefit as well. You all have a wonderful day.